plate, and Longo would come and throw with someone. They would open up that door where the umpires would come out, and before every game, he would like throw with someone right there. So yeah, I was a big Longoria fan.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Zambrano.
Bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
We're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 7th season covering the Rays daily.
So grab your favorite Rays gear and settle in, as we have a special guest on today's episode, and that is the host of the Locked On Rays Postcast. So if you may notice, hopefully you noticed by now, there are episodes immediately, and I mean immediately, following the game. And that's not myself or Ulysses. I think that'd be very challenging for us. So instead, we have the awesome, amazing Jonathan Shields to do that. And he's been doing an amazing job at it as well, bringing a different voice on to the Locked On Rays podcast and to the Locked On platform as well. So Jonathan, welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Sorry we didn't have more of a formal introduction before now, but hey, better late than never to have you on the program and talk some Rays baseball.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me on, and you guys do great work as well. So yeah, everything was kind of expedited when I got started on. So it was great to finally meet and kind of get ready to talk some Rays.
Absolutely. So let's get into that a little bit, because I think it might be nice for the Locked On Rays fandom out there to get an understanding of what Jonathan brings to the table and how he got to this position. So just nuts and bolts. How long have you been a Rays fan? What's your Rays fandom history here?
So my parents, it was funny. So me and my dad were actually going through a trunk of old stuff the other day, and he pulled out 2 tickets from the first ever Rays game in '98 against the Tigers, I believe it was. So my parents were founding season ticket members in '98. And so by the time I got into it, it was, the late kind of going into the 2010s. So my kind of first memories, was that '08 World Series, and then kind of from there on out. So I guess you can technically say I've been a Rays fan my whole life. So I went to a bunch of games growing up. We ended up not doing the season tickets as I got older, and we're playing more travel sports. But a lot of my childhood was at the Trop, and it was a blast to grow up with that in my life.
Is it fair to say that Evan Longoria was your favorite player growing up, or was there somebody else when you were starting in your Rays fandom? So
I love Evan Longoria because for a while we had seats not the cool seats right behind home plate, not the home plate club, but we're up a little bit but behind home plate, and Longo would come and throw with someone. They would open up that door where the umpires would come out, and before every game, he would like throw with someone right there. So yeah, I was a big Longoria fan. My little brother's favorite player was BJ Upton, though. Okay. He loved BJ Upton, and I always liked Carlos Pena a lot too, because as you know, I think we'll get into, like, one of my first Rays memories was like a Carlos Pena grand slam. So those 3 and Carl Crawford, those 4 were kind of like the heartbeat. And then my sister's favorite player was James Shields, because we share our same last name. So I used to tell everyone that James Shields was my uncle, and prank some kids doing that. So kind of those 4 or 5.
That just gets me back thinking about all the talent that were on some of those Rays clubs between Longo and Crawford and Upton and Shields. And that's just a few. There were many more during those days as well, which speaking of Longo, he will have a ceremony on June 7th at Steinbrenner Field. And just want to ask you, Jonathan, I'm going to ask Evan Klosky on Friday's program, but do you believe that Evan Longoria is a Hall of Famer, like not a Rays Hall of Famer, but a BBWAA Hall of Famer, or will he ultimately come up short?
So my heart says yes, just because, I grew up with him, but those, I feel like in the Hall of Fame, they kind of value things that Longo might not have. They might value, specific milestones. They might value, whatever it may be, whether it's batting titles, whether it's, silver sluggers, whether it's you made X amount of All-Star games. So I think in the end, he's definitely not going to be like a first ballot guy. He would be a guy that would wait around a little bit. So, I would like to think because of, this is kind of corny, but for the impact he had on the Rays community and on the Tampa Bay area, he made the Rays relevant. The Rays lost 90 games every year before he got there. So I would hope they would take that into account a little bit, but I just think his prime might end up being just a little bit too short. And when he had kind of those big time numbers, but not a first ballot guy, but could be a guy that could, sneak in, toward his later years on the ballot.
I'm just hoping he gets the 5% of the vote for his first year, and then he can stick around and maybe build up some momentum from there. Jonathan, you made an interesting point, and Ulysses, I know you have a thought on this, but I think I looked it up the other day, and I hope I'm correct on this, but his All-Star appearances were in the first 3 years of his career, and then he didn't make another All-Star appearance after that. So that's a long window, a long time span where you're not getting that recognition, and I think that could kind of hurt him a little bit, is he doesn't have all those All-Star berths for whatever it's worth. So
and another thing too is like the MVP votes also came very early. Like the issue with Longo, the start was so amazing, but maybe it died off a little bit too quick. But ultimately, I think if you're getting 342 bombs from a third baseman who has Gold Glove type defense and ultimately an 804 OPS, like that's nothing to shy about. But I think the media also is going to be playing against them a little bit there. But that's for another topic. Jonathan, I do want to ask you before we talk about something else about the Stein. Have you been able to watch a game? I know you are a St. Pete guy. Have you been able to cross the bridge the other way and seen a game live? And if not, do you have plans to do so?
So not yet. When the season started, I was still not at home. I got home kind of mid-April and then kind of started right up with this. So my goal is to do a postcast live from Steinbrenner. That's kind of my goal this year. Yeah, that would be awesome. So that's the ultimate goal, is to do that, because I'm not one of the guys, even though I'm a St. Pete guy, I'm not one of those guys like the stadium needs to be in St. Pete. I don't care where the stadium is as long as it's in the Tampa Bay area. So I would love to go to the Stein, because it looks really cool, man. I'll tell you what, even though on every single FanDuel Sports Network commercial you see the thing about 3 days, we had 3 days to turn it out, like literally every single time. But they really did, and it looks incredible. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting out there.
Awesome. All right, we have a lot more to discuss with Jonathan, but first we have to tell the audience something important next on the Locked On Rays podcast.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. They've got an easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources and latest product information to help you get the job done right. Plus, they've got an inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, so you'll get exactly what you need and delivered fast from coast to coast. You can join their free Trade Master program, which offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order by going to supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can start ordering everything, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. Again, you can do all of that at supplyhouse.com.
All right, we're joined by Jonathan Shields, who is the host of the Locked On Rays Postcast. Are you doing that on weekends as well? Is it every game?
Every game.
That is dedication. Holy
cow. I did it after my college graduation when they beat the Yankees in Game 2 in New York. I'm going to be taking a few trips, and I'm going to be doing it, from the hotel, from my girlfriend's house. So the grind does not stop. I think I looked at the schedule. I was going to do like 142 games, and I'm only going to miss 3 of them. So that's kind of my goal is to do as many as possible.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you. And
that's
happy
awesome.
college graduation as well. What is
Thank
your now alma mater?
Benedictine University. It's in Illinois. It's a small Division III college there. So I actually got recruited to play basketball there. But
Okay.
funny enough, I chose. I everyone I played baseball, kind of everything. That I chose basketball. So it was a good time up there.
Nice. And did you study broadcasting or sports
Yeah,
journalism?
I studied sports communication. So they didn't really have like a broadcast degree, but I broadcasted everything at Benedictine. I broadcast men's lacrosse through the snow. I broadcasted women's volleyball, women's basketball, baseball. I mean, go through it. I probably broadcasted it there.
Good for you.
That's
And now
awesome.
you're on the second largest sports podcasting network in the world or in the United States.
Exactly. I definitely got fast tracked a little bit.
Yeah, no, good for you.
What doesn't get fast tracked is sometimes the Rays offense. They did pull out a series win against the Toronto Blue Jays, though, Jonathan. Let's get into the season a little bit. What's your elevator pitch for what has been going on for the 2025 team this year?
If I were to tell someone, they would ask me, what's going on with the Rays? Like, what should I expect? I would just say they need to tread water until they get their guys back.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, treading water is being kind of like 2 games below 500, 2 games above 500. And they have the pitching and bullpen and just enough in the offense to do that. And you saw what happened when they got one of their guys back today with Josh Lowe. He was just fantastic today in that leadoff spot. But there's just so many key guys, especially on that outfield hurt. Even a guy like Richie Palacios, who's really he's a guy that you can just it produces, right. I think Hyesung Kim is going to elevate this team to a level that they haven't had in the shortstop position since kind of the unfortunate situations happened. So even though Taylor Walls went on a tear last week, so I was a Taylor Walls. I had to kind of eat some words there, but my whole thing is tread water until we get our 4 or 5 key guys back, and then you can really have a fair estimate on this team because you can't win a division before Memorial Day, but you sure can lose it. So if the Rays just tread water until then, I think they'll be in a good spot.
Can I let me challenge that a little bit? The Rays' home schedule is upside down this year, right? So they have most of their home games in the beginning of the season. If they tread water, which is like, okay, let's say 2 games below 500-ish, by the end of May, almost 48% of their home games are gone. So are we wasting an opportunity here with the schedule by just completely getting behind the 8 ball, waiting for these guys, and maybe it's going to be too little too late?
No, they 100% are. And I started the postcast while they're in the heart of that 13-game homestand or whatever it was. And I'm a big in baseball, everything always comes back to the median at some point, right? At the law of averages always kind of works itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And what the Rays are doing now is the recipe to not make the playoffs by losing so much at home. And not to mention their offense has been lethargic at home, to put it kindly. And so, if you're going to say one sticking point, it's that. And I would even challenge that sticking point is bigger than any kind of optimism you can have about this team. It's very simple. If they don't win at home or win consistently at home, they're not going anywhere this year. And I think it's a shame because I think this team is better than last year post trade deadline. And I think this team, especially with how bad the AL East has been so far this year, can and should contend for a postseason spot.
What's funny is that I guess the Rays do like playing in a dome after what we saw against the Blue Jays between Game 1 and Game 3. I know Game 2 wasn't all that hot offensively, but we saw a lot of home runs, a lot of action, and hopefully that's a boost for this team going forward. I think, like you mentioned, Jonathan, having Josh Lowe, just one more guy like that, and being without Yandy Diaz, so maybe we'll get Yandy Diaz and Josh Lowe in the lineup together for the first time all season, pretty much. Hopefully that boosts things a little bit further. And I think we're starting to see a Brandon Lowe hot streak. This is going to be Brandon Lowe month, May 15th through June 15th, and then he'll go on a cold run. But we should be relishing in this while it lasts.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? On paper, when these guys are hot, I mean, I would put up these guys in front of any five. I mean, when you have a Yandy, a Bilao, a Caminero, you get Josh Lowe back. You have a Jonathan Arena who's just been doing whatever he wants at the dish. That's a pretty big five that you can just put up and against anyone. And then you put something like a little wild card like Chandler Simpson. Okay, now you see, and then you see Ha-Seong Kim. That's 7 that you're really interested in this lineup. It just becomes so much more dynamic. But I want to tackle that. How do you feel about Chandler Simpson so far? Has he exceeded expectations? Has he been the biggest surprise for you? Are you the biggest Chandler Simpson fan right now? What's going on with him?
Yeah, he definitely exceeded my expectations because, I'm tuned in to Rays minor league baseball, but not like incredibly tuned into Rays minor league baseball. So you see the highlights, you see him beating out stuff to first, but I mean, you could literally argue that his speed won 2 games for the Rays this year, and that was something that I didn't know. Like I didn't know if you could say coming into the season, but. The one thing I did like is either Nylander or Cash came right out and said, like, he's going to get a long rope. Like, he's going to get a leash. So, like, this isn't a 2-week thing that he's going to send down. So, I think that calmed him a little bit. Like, that bat he had in the 9th, it kind of gets overshadowed because Junior had that home run on Friday. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just a money at bat. He took 97 inside the zone, got the barrel to it, and flipped it, right in center field. So, he's just a dynamic player that could bring so much potential to this team. But he had his struggles in center field, and they've shown that they don't play him in center field anymore. Meisner has taken over, and credit Meisner. Meisner's done great in center, but
he really has.
So yeah, I don't know. I would, if I'm Kevin Cash, like when I get all my guys back, I'm batting Yandy first. I'm batting Chandler 9th to have kind of like that wraparound. Because when I was, at least in Little League, they would always say you put your second leadoff hitter 9th, and so just to kind of lengthen out that lineup even more. But yeah, he has been a pleasant surprise to me.
Kevin, we were talking about this very recently. I was saying I don't like Chandler in front of Bilao because then he gets kind of his hands are tied of like, I can't take the bat away from the big power guy, so I'm not going to steal. I don't want that. I want Chandler Simpson to be running like a wild horse. So don't put a guy like Bilao behind him. Put somebody like Yandy, and that's exactly what we're talking about, Kev.
Yeah, and a couple points that you made, Jonathan. I think we've seen some really impressive play from Cam Meisner, offensively in this last series. At field, first slides and some of the grabs that he's been able to handle has been really impressive. And then Chandler Simpson, I think something that maybe gets underlooked, anyway, what I'm seeing over these last couple games or last couple series, just being able to time up and square up a 97, 98 fastball and knowing within his limits, just short to the ball, quick stroke, and hit it up the middle and get a game tying or go ahead RBI or starting a rally, I think is really key. And he seems to me to be wise beyond his years. I know there's some development that he has to improve upon defensively, but I think he's going to be a stalwart in this lineup going forward, which we should really appreciate because there's not many, 270 hitters on this team. And I think he could be even be more than that in the future as well. But yeah, so Jonathan, just a couple more questions before we wrap up here. What, if there's one player that has pleasantly surprised you the most, who would that be?
I'll do two because the first one's obvious. Like what Jonathan Ron is doing is crazy right now. Like,
okay,
like even today, like I'm pretty sure he went 0 for 5, but like even the last ball he hit, like he hit it right in the screws. It was just for an out. Yeah. But the quality of that bat that he's getting, like I believe it was yesterday, Saturday's game, in the top of the 8th, he had like a 10 pitch at bat and then hit it 105 off the bat, and it's just someone just happened to be there. So what he's doing is incredible, and it was one of him or Curtis Mead for me. Is like if one of those guys gets going, then the Rays offense will be even deeper, and it just happened to be a Ronda, so I'll take it. But another guy, what Eric Orsi has done out of the bullpen, I think has been really like special kind of stuff because Uceta has been up and down. Like we talk about Brandon Lowe, and it's a perfect thing. Brandon Lowe is most like this. Uceta has either been here or he's been here. Yeah. So to just have another option with Clevenger, Rodriguez, Fairbanks to throw in there and potentially big high leverage situations will just be kind of big for this team going forward. So yeah, I guess I kind of cheated. I gave 2.
No, that's good. I love that. Now, which player or players, if you want to give multiple, you can, has been most disappointing to start the season?
So I'm going to say the catcher position as a whole.
Okay.
Even though I'm going to quietly exclude Danny Jansen's last 2 weeks from that because he's been putting together some really good at bats, and I wanted to shout him out. We were talking about the length of the lineup. He's starting to do what we thought he was going to do. But like I was a fan of Ben Rortvedt last year with how historically bad the Rays catchers were last year. But man, like you can't be hitting like under 100. We give Taylor Walls grief for hitting under 200. Ben Rortvedt is not even like a plus defender. He's kind of average. So yeah, I would say he's the one that sticks out like a sore thumb, because you look at the pitching staff. Everyone's kind of doing their thing. Guys had rough outings here or there. It happens over 162 games, but I would say him. And then kind of I don't know what I was expecting from Curtis Mead. I wasn't expecting this, but then again, I don't think he's being put in the most advantageous situation playing every third, fourth day, kind of what they're doing with Morel now. But yeah, when I believe your guy Evan Klosky said you can't roll out Ben Rortvedt every 2 to 3 days a week when he's going to go 1 for 10 during that stretch. It's just tough. It's just tough to do with a lineup that's already struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with Curtis Mead, we were a little bit spoiled by his monstrous historic spring training, and we've learned that spring training stats oftentimes don't transition in the regular season there. Another question I have for you, Jonathan, you being a St. Pete resident and having a connection to St. Pete, you were probably one of the fewish people that, maybe wasn't that happy to see the Rays on the Tampa side versus, playing somewhere in Pinellas County. But I want to know what your vision, your thought is with the Rays going forward and their uncertain future in St. Petersburg. I mean, I think we know that, they're going to play in the Trop next year and for the next couple of years after that. But beyond that, long term, 10 years, 15, 20 years from now, what do you see happening with this franchise? Is it moving to Tampa, staying in St. Petersburg, going to another state? What say you?
So selfishly, I want them to stay in St. Pete because the Trop's 10 minutes from my house. I worked parking for the Rays my first 2 years of college. Like I was out there in the lots parking people. Nice. So like selfishly, I want that. Big picture, I just wanted to stay in the Tampa Bay area. Rod Manfred has really kind of gave a stance. He's like, I want the Rays here. Like the Tampa Bay is a market we want to tap into. But I'm not going to come out here and bash Stu. But I think he took advantage of an area, my family included, that suffered greatly from the hurricane and 2 hurricanes, and not used it to his advantage, but used it to back out of the deal. And to me, that was like a slap in the face as someone that has watched the Rays their whole life and someone that dealt with tragedy. I mean, my street looked like a war zone after the hurricane. So, I don't know what the right answer is. I know he burned a lot of bridges in the St. Pete City Council. So I don't even know if St. Pete is like an option anymore. It's kind of been silent on that since late March. So, like I said, I'm a huge Bucks fan. I'm a huge Lightning fan. If they stay in the Tampa Bay area, I'm all for it. But like the plan that they had for it seemed pretty good. I'm not some architect. I'm not some economist. I don't know. I just can read, kind of do my research best I can. But I think St. Pete has the market for them. I think anywhere they go in the Tampa Bay area, the attendance concerns are going to be there. The bridge is still going to be there. You're going to have to cross Howard Franklin. You're going to cross Courtney Causeway. However you want to get it from Tampa to St. Pete, it's going to be there either side. So as long as they stay in the Tampa Bay area, I'm okay with it.
Spoken like a true Locked On Rays Postcast host. Jonathan, it has been a pleasure to have you on. Please, how can people find your very fine work attached to this podcast network?
So we're live after every game. So I try to go live within like 10 minutes of the game ending. So if you come on the YouTube page, it'll like show up like live now. But you can also watch the replays. It's just under. So your guys' videos is under videos. If you go to lives, that's where you can watch all the replays. So we have a fun community coming in there after every game. The comments are very active. I try to make it a point to show as many comments on the screen during the postcast to kind of entice people to join, because I'm a Rays fan just like them. So if they want to have their voices heard, that's a good place to have it. So like I said, 10 to 15 minutes after every Rays game, we're live on the YouTube channel. And then if they miss it for some reason, people have lives. I don't expect people to join everyone, but you can catch the replay, on podcast, Spotify, or on the live section of the channel.
See, exactly. Yeah. If you're a Rays fan and you want to have your voice heard and you want something good to listen to, you don't just have to tune into the Rays post-game show on the radio. Tune into Jonathan, and you might have your comment read, and you might get some interaction that way. And some people may not even have a radio anymore, so you can just go to the YouTubes or the podcast feed and take care of it that way. So, Jonathan, we appreciate it. We'll have to do this again soon. In fact, might have some vacations coming up where might have to loop you in as a co-host if that's something that you're interested in. Just
I would, yeah, I would love that. Whenever you guys need me, I'm here. It was great talking with you guys. Like I said, I try to shout out your work as much as I can. When I do the postcast, you guys do great work. So yeah, anytime you guys need me, I'm all in. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome. We appreciate it. And then on that note, thank you all for listening, and thank you for making Locked On Rays your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on the YouTubes or wherever you listen to those